So you're live.
Okay. Is my screen is visible? Patrick.
Visible? Yes,
Okay.
your screen is visible.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So today's topic is a master class on the computer forensic or the digital forensic and the evidence collections. We focus on one thing, that is how will you prepare yourself for computer forensic experts, and for any government jobs, private jobs where we can get the job offerings from after doing the digital forensic. So the first thing first which come is a great quote, that is when a person comes into the contact with an object or another person, a cost transfer of physical evidences can occur, which is given by the Edmund Locard, the principle of exchange. Now we give you the introductions of the digital forensic. Now digital forensic is a computer forensic and the investigation. So we will give you an overview of forensic science in general idea about its practical applications on different areas, and it will introduce into the world of digital forensic, and that is applying the forensic science to the digital artifacts, and that we can create every day throughout the interactions with the computers, mobile phones, unseen objects and around us, known as the Internet of Things or the IoT. Now, before we come to the digital forensic, now what is digital forensic? We have to know about the what is the forensic science. Now, digital forensic is obviously a part of a forensic science. Now, we before we move to digital forensic, at first we have to know the what is the forensic science. Now, the word forensic comes from the Latin word forensis, means of or before the forum. The history of the term originates in the Roman times when a criminal charge meant presenting the case before the group of public individuals in the forum. Both the people and the person are accused of the crime, and the accuser would give the speeches and based on the side of the theory. Now, the case would be decided in favor of individual with the best arguments and delivery. The origin is a source of the two modern uses of the word forensic. The forensic is used as a legal evidences as a category of the physical presentation. In a simple manner, the forensic science is an application of any sciences which is related to the court of law. This is about the forensic science. Now, after the forensic science, now what is forensic science? Now we move to the digital forensic. Now, what is digital forensic? Now, digital forensic is obviously a branch of forensic science that focuses on the recovery, investigations, and the material found in the digital devices relating to the cyber crime. The term digital forensic has been first introduced and synonym for the computer forensic, since it has been expanded to cover the investigations of any devices that can store digitally data. Now, the first computer crime was reported in 1978. It was clearly the 21st century that the national policies in the digital forensics has got emerged. Now, digital forensic is used in the process of identifying, preserving, analyzing, and documenting the digital evidences. Now, it is done in the order to present the evidences in the court of law when it will be required. Now, there is a few steps needed for the digital forensic. Now, in order for the digital forensic for the expectation and the expected in the court of law, it should be handled in a very specific way, so that there is an opportunity for the cyber criminals to tamper with the evidences. Now, identifications is the first point of the step of the digital forensic. Now, the first, they find the evidences where it is being stored. Preservation, the next, isolate and secure and preserve the data, and this includes the preventing the people from possibly tampering with the evidences. And second is analyzing. Now, second, the next, reconstructions and fragment of data, and then draw the conclusions based on the evidences found. Now, the documentation part, now create a record of all the data that has been recreated from the crime scene. And last but not the least is the presentation part, which is the lastly, and summarize, which is the draw conclusions regarding the crime scene occurred in a digital forensic. Now in digital forensic, who is known as a digital forensic investigator? Now, digital forensic investigator is a person who has a desire to follow the evidences and solve the crime virtually. Now, imagine a security breach has been happened at a company resulting in the stolen of data. In this, situation, the computer forensic analyst would come and determine how the attackers gained the access to the network, where they damaged the network, and what did they do on the network. Now, whether they took informations or plant a malware on it. Now, under those circumstances, the digital forensic role is to recover the data like photos, emails, documents from the computer hard drives, other storage devices, such as zip files, flash drive with the deleted and damaged or the otherwise has been manipulated. Now, how is the digital forensic is used in an investigation? Now, digital footprints or the digital information gathering is the information about a person on a system. That is the web pages they has been visited. Now, when they were active, now what devices they were using. By following the digital footprint, investigators will excavate the data and the critical to the solving the crimes cases. Now, the cybercrime investigators are the expert in the investigating the encrypted data using the various types of software tools, and there are upcoming techniques that investigators depends on the type of cybercrime they are dealing with. The cyber investigator tasks includes recovering of deleted data, cracking passwords, finding the sources of data breach. Once the collector of the evidences is then restored and translated to make it presentable before the court of law for police and to the examine further. Now, the phases of the digital forensic. Now, what are the phases included in the digital forensic? Now, the phases one is the first response, that is the action performed after right to the occurrence of the security incident. That is the first response. It is highly dependable on the nature of the incident occurred. Now, the phase two is the search and seizure cases. Now, under this phase is the professional search for the devices involving in the carrying out the crime. These devices then carefully seize to extract the information out of them. Now, the phase three is to collect the evidences. After the search and seizure phases, the professional use the acquired devices to collect the data, and they have well-defined forensic method for the collecting the evidences and handling the evidences. Now, the phase four. Now, the phase four is to secure the evidences. The forensic staff should have access to a safe environment where they can secure the evidences and determine if the collected data is acquired and authentic and accessible. Now, the phases five, the data acquisitions. Now, data acquisition is a process of retrieving and electronically stored data, that is ESI, from the suspect digital aspects, and it is helps for the gaining insight into the incident. With the improper process can alter the data and thus sacrificing the integrity of the evidences. Now, the phase six is the data analysis part. Now, under the data analysis, the accountable staff can acquire the data to identify the individual information, and that can be presented to the court. And these phases is about the examination, identifying and separating and converting the modeling data to transform it into the useful information. Now, the phase 7 is evidence assessment. The process of evidence assessment relates the evidential data to the security incident, and there should be through the assessment based on the scope of the cases. The phase 8 is documentation and the reporting. This is a post-investigation phases that covers and reporting the documentation of all the findings. Also, the report should be adequate and accepted the evidences accordance to the court of law. Now, phases 9 is the last phases of the digital forensic as a testify as an expert witness. Now, the forensic investigator should approach the expert witness to affirm the accuracy of the evidences. And expert witness is a professional who investigate the crime to retrieve the evidences. Now, what is a cybercrime? Now, cybercrime is defined as an illegal act involving in a computer or a system or its application. Now, the cybercrime will be the intentional. It is not an accidental part, obviously. The cybercrime is divided into the 3T factor. That is a tool of crime, the target of the crime, and tangential to the crime. Now, the example of the cybercrime, the few examples of cybercrime in the modern days includes the theft of the intellectual property, damage of the company service network, the financial fraud, hacker system penetration, denial of service attack or the DOS attacks, and planting of the virus and worms. Now, what are the mode of attack in the digital forensic? Now, the cybercrime falls into the two categories depending upon the way an attack takes place, following the two external another attack of the take place is following the two types of attack. Now, the insider attack and the external attack. Now, the two types of attack has been mode of attack. There is the insider attack and the external attack. Now, the section 2, the source of digital evidences, the digital video camera. The types of the potential evidence are the pictures, videos, files stored locally on the media cards, etc. And the cell phone, the text messages, call logs, application use, social media accounts, everything from all categories that we get from the cell phones. Now the computer and laptops, everything from the all categories, social media account, internet search histories, documents, email, and non-web based. And the mobile devices is everything from the all categories, application use, social media accounts, game consoles. We can get from the game console, that is the pictures, videos, documents, etc. And the file storage and the hard drives, thumb drives, and optical media, everything from all categories we can gain from it. Internet of Things, that is IoT, is interactive guide. Wearable items, that is the locations. Wearable items we get from the locations and the used app. Law enforcement agencies are also generated the digital evidences. Now, a few of the others devices, that is the automated license plate reader, that is LPRs. And now type of potential evidence is the license plate images, the pictures of car, geolocations, metadata in car, the body worn cameras, that is the videos, unarmed aerial vehicles, that is a system, there is a drones, that is called videos. We can get the videos, interview room recordings, that is the audio, video, and the audio recordings, closed circuit televisions, the CCTV videos. We can get the videos from there, teasers, and we can get data files from there. Now, how the digital evidences of the electronic evidences were collected. Now, on the scene, now anyone who has dropped his cell phone in the lake and had their computer damaged in a move or the thunderstorm knows digitally stored information is very sensitive and easily lost. And now there are generally the best practices to properly seize the devices and computers. Now, once the scenes has been secured and legal authorizations to the seize of the evidences has been confirmed, the devices were been collected and any password, code, or pin should be gathered from the individual involved. Now, if possible, now unnecessary chargers, cable, peripherals, manuals should be collected. The thumb drive, cell phones, hard drives, unlike the external examined using the different tools and techniques, and it is often done in a specialized laboratory. Now, the first responders needed to take the special care with the digital evidences in the addition to the normal evidences collections procedure to prevent the exposure of things like the extreme temperature, static electricities, and the moisture. Now, the seizing of the mobile devices. Now, how a mobile devices we seize in the digital forensic field? Now, devices should be turned off immediately and batteries should be removed if possible. Now, turning off the mobile phones preserve the cell tower locations, informing the information on the call logs, and prevent the phones from being used. Now, which could change the data from the phone, data on the phone. In addition to the devices depends on the remote destruction command should be used without the investigator knowledge. Some phones has been automatic timer to turn on the phones for the updates, which could compromise the data. So battery removal is an optimal in nature. Now, if the devices cannot be turned off, now it should be isolated from the cell tower by placing it in the Faraday bag on the blocking material, set to the airplane mode, or the Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or the other communication systems must be disabled. Now, digital devices should be placed in the anti-static packaging, such as the paper bags or the envelopes or the cardboard boxes. Plastic should be avoided, and as is the con with the static electricity are allowed to the building up with the considerations of the humidity. Now, in emergency or the life-threatening situations, the information from the phone can be removed and saved in the scenes, but great care must be taken in the documentation and the actions on the preservation of the data. Now, when sending the digital evidences to the laboratory, the investigators must indicate the type of information being sought out. For the instance, the phone numbers and call histories from the cell phones, emails, documents, and messages from the computers or the images on the tablet. Now, the seizing of the standalone computer and the equipment to preserve the alteration of the digital evidences during the collection. The first responders should first take and the documentation, the documents and may be recorded in any information on the screen. Now, the responders may move a mouse without pressing buttons or the moving a wheel. Determine if something is on the screen. Now, if the computer is on, calling on the computer forensic is highly recommended, as the connections to the criminal activity must be lost by turning off the computer. Now, if the computer is on, but the running destructive software, that is formatting, deleting, removing, and wiping informations, now the power of the computer should be disconnected immediately to preserve whatever is left on the machine. Now, the office environment provided a challenging hidden situations, which is due to the networking and the potential loss of evidences and liabilities of the agencies outside the criminal investigation cases. Now, for the instance, if the server is turned off during the seizure, and that is providing a service on the outside customer, the loss of services to the customer may be very damaging. In addition to the office equipment, and that could be contain the evidences such as the copiers, scanners, security cameras, facsimile machines, pagers, and caller ID units should be collected. The computers that are off from the collected into the evidence as per the usual agency digital evidences procedure. And the procedure ensure the digital evidences remain unchanged on the handling of the digital evidences. Now the evidence handling for the four primary areas in any incident response activity. These are areas also as follows: the collection, which has to do the searching for the evidences, recognitions and collections of evidences, documenting the item of the evidence. They always ensure the collection includes all the available data and resources such as the whole disk drive, not just the use portion. Now always documented the places, time, circumstances of each data items has been collected for the evidences. Now second is the hardware evidences examinations, now which has to be do with the origin of subsequent significant with the visibility of the evidences, often can reveal the hidden or the obscure informations and documentation about the evidences, dimensions, style, size, manufacture of the hard drives, other devices on the network items, all the important evidences items, etc. Now the third part, the software and the network evidence analysis. Now which is where the for logs, records, software evidence is actually examined for the incident, providing the significant criteria for the inclusions and provision of the value of the evidences. Always conduct this software and network analysis and the interpretation separate from the hardware evidences examination. The evidence is reporting, it must be written, documented with the process and procedure outlined and examined in the details in the reports pertaining the facts and data recovered at the primary key in the reports. Understand the documentations and reports will always be reviewed and critic and must and maybe even the cross-examined. Now what are the mobile evidences? Now from a mobile, what are the evidences we can collect as a digital forensic investigator? Now first is the text messages, whether it is a regular text or the iMessages, photos or chats sent to the social media apps. The text messages can convey the conversations of the plans to the criminal activity. The second is the phone records. Many cases hints to the suspect and is also called receive a call from during a suspect from the time frame. The third is a browse of the search history. Just like the forensic investigators search the browser history or the laptop or the desktop, and they can also be getting more accurate pictures for your activities based on the searches you can conduct on the mobile devices. Now GPS locations. Today's cell phones are well equipped with the modern GPS tools. An investigator can always track your location using the tool that show where your phone is in relations to the nearby cell location tower. Now application of data. Some specialized some suspected criminals with the using the applications like the Snapchat or do things like send and receive the child pornography. Because of the data from the Snapchat disappear after the being sent, it is harder through. It is not the possible through, though it is not possible, the law enforcement has been tracked down. Other apps may also been contain the data and they should be used in the criminal investigation process. Now the Wi-Fi or the Bluetooth part. Now, because of the making the connections to either two of these can be the pinpoint your locations at the particular times, and it also can be the damning evidences using against you for the criminal matter. Now, the multimedia part. Now, one of the reason we love together smartphones is because of the photos, videos, audios, and capability present on the smartphones. Now, all of these can be contain that also contain the evidences. Evidence police may be looking for this when they're investigating cases. Now the devices file, whether you are saved a document with the list of the credit card number and don't belong to you and you have received and saved and say the picture of the stolen property, and these stored files can be considered the digital evidences and the digital data. The digital data is the last part. The photos, voicemails, texts, and even the devices files that suspect attempt to the deleted to cover up the criminal activity can still be recovered by the forensic specialist. Now the brief detailed information about the mobile forensic. Now what is the importance about the mobile forensic? The term mobile devices has been encompasses with a wide array of the gadgets ranging from the mobile phones, smartphones, tablet, GPS, units of the wearables and PDAs. Now we all have a common in the fact that it contains a lot of user informations. Mobile devices are right in the middle of the three blooming technological trends, that is IoT, cloud computing, and big data. The proliferations of the mobile technology is perhaps the main reason, or at least one of the main reasons for these trends occurred in the first place. Now nowadays the mobile devices uses in the passive as it is helpful, especially in the context of the digital forensic. Now, because of the small size machines, a huge mass of quantity of data in a daily basis, which can be extracted to facilitate the investigations being something like a digital extension of our self, and these machines is now allow the digital forensic investigation to glean a lot of informations. Now, what are the state of the digital mobile forensic process? Now, CISA is a mobile evidence box. Now, the digital forensic operates on the principle that evidences should always be adequate and preserved and processed and admissible to the court of law and some of the legal considerations go hand in hand with the configurations of the mobile devices. And there are two major risks concerning with the phase of the mobile forensic process and the log activation by user suspects and involved of the third party. In the network cellular connections and the network isolations is always been advisable, and it could be achieved either through the airplane mode, disabled with the Wi-Fi and hotspot, cloning the devices and the SIM cards. Okay. In the airplane mode, the mobile devices can often seize and switched on. Since the purpose of their configuration is to preserve evidences, the best way to transport them is to attempt them to turn into the avoid of the shutdown, and which would inevitably alter the files in the Faraday bag. The Faraday box, bags, and the external power supply, common types of equipments, and conducting the mobile forensic, which is the former in the container of the specifically designed to isolate the mobile devices from the network communications. Now, at the same time, help of the safe transportation of the evidences to the laboratory. The latter is the power sources embedding to the inside the Faraday box of the bag. Before putting into the phone to the Faraday bag, disconnect all the network, disable all the network connections, Wi-Fi, GPS, and hotspot, etc., and activate the flight mode to protect the integrity of the evidences. Last but not the least, investigators should beware of the mobile devices being connected unknown incidentally the devices, as well as other booby trap and set unto the cause bodily harm to the dead or anyone to the crime scene. Now, second part is the acquisitions of the identifications and extraction. The goal of these phases is to retrieve the data from the mobile devices, and the mobile device lock screen can be unlocked with the right pin password pattern or the biometric passports and protected with the fingerprints or not. Now, also similar lock measures may exist on the app, images, SMS, and messenger. Encryption is, on the other hand, provided the security to the software or in the hardware level. It is also often impossible to the circumvent. Now, it is very hard to be control of data on the mobile devices because the data of the mobile is as well. Once the communications of the files were sent to the smartphone, control is lost. Although there is a different devices having the capabilities to store the considerable amount of data, data in itself may be physically to the another location. It gives an example: data synchronization among the devices, and the applications can be places devices, but also via the cloud. Services such as the Apple iCloud, Microsoft OneDrive, and the prevalent among the mobile devices users, and can leave open the possibility of the data acquisition from them. For that reason, the investigator should be attentive to any indications, and that data may be transferred to the mobile devices as a physical objects, because such as the occurrence may affect the collections and even preservation of the process. Now, since the data is constantly being synchronized, the hardware and the software may be able to bridge a data gap. For example, the Uber, it has both an app and fully functional website. All the information that can be accessed to the Uber app on the phone may be pulled off with the Uber website instead, or even the Uber software program installed on a computer. Now, regardless of all the types of the devices, identifying the locations of the data can be further been implemented due to the fragmentation of the operating system and the item specifications. Now, the open source Android operating systems also comes in the several different versions. Now, even the Apple's iOS also vary from the versions to the versions. And another challenge that the forensic experts need to overcome in the abundant and the even challenging landscape of the mobile apps. Now, creating the full list of the installed apps. Some apps are archived and the backup data after one the identify the data sources, and the next step is to collect the information properly. And there are certain unique challenges concerning the gathering informations in the context of the mobile technology. Many mobile devices cannot be collected by creating an image, and instead of they undergo the process is called the acquisition of data. And there are the various protocols collecting the data from the mobile devices as certain design specifications, and also allow the type of the acquisitions. Now, the forensic examiner should also make a SIM card imaging. Now, if produce and recreate the replica images of the SIM card content as with the other replicas, the original evidences will also remain intact with the replica. Image is also being used for the analysis, and all the image files should be hashed and the ensure of the data remaining the accurate and unchanged. The third part, which is a very important part, that is the examination and the analysis part. Now, as the first step, every digital investigator should also mobile devices, and the forensic expert needs to identify there is a type of mobile devices, example the GPS, smartphone, tablets, etc. A type of networks, GSM, CDMA, and TDMAs, and carrier, and the server provider is a reverse lookup. The examiner may needed to use the numerous forensic tools to acquire and analyze data deciding the machines due to the sheer device diversity of the network devices and the mobile devices, and there are one size fits all the solution regarding the mobile examination mobile forensic tool. Now, consequently, it is advised to more than the one of the tool, that is the access data, the stealth kit, and the in case of the some of the important forensic software product that has been that has been analytic capabilities, and the most appropriate tool is being chosen and depending on the type of model on the mobile devices. Now, time and a link analysis available in the many mobile forensic tools and could tie each of the most significant event from the forensic analysis the point of view. All the information, evidences, and other findings should be extracted, analyzing, and documentation throughout the investigation should be presented in any other forensic examination of the court in a clear, concise, and the complete manner. Now, this is basically a flow chart. This is basically a flow chart where we can computer forensic investigation process model has been defined. That is, the first part is the acquisition part, then the identification, then the evaluations, and the admission as a evidences. The identification can be a physical context, the logical context, and the legal context. The physical context should be the media, the logical context should be data, and the legal context should be the information part. Now, move on to the process of the digital forensic. This is a flow diagram on the digital forensic process. The first part is identification part, the collection, the preservation, examination, analysis, and the presentation part. Now, the mobile forensic and the tool classification method is the number one is a non-invasive method. The non-invasive method can deals with the other tasks such as unlocking the SIM lock with the operator lock and the operating system updates, the IMEI number modifications, etc. This technique can be virtually be incapable in cases where the devices has been sustained even with the severe physical damages. Types of non-invasive mobile forensic method is a manual extraction. The forensic examiner merely browses all the data using the mobile devices touchscreen of the keypad. Informations of the interest discovered on the phones is photographically has been documented. And this process is the manual extraction is simply and applicable to almost every phone. While there are some of the tools designed to make the process easy, it is not possible, however, to restore the deleted data this way. Now, the logical extraction and this approach involve instituting a connection between the mobile devices and the forensic workstations using the USB cables and the Bluetooth, infrared, or the RJ45 cable. Following the connecting part, the computer sends the command request to the devices, and the devices sends to the data back with the memory. And the majority of the devices on the forensic tool purposes and the logical extraction and the process itself requires the short-term training. On the downside, however, this training technique must be the added data to the mobile devices may alter the integrity of the evidences, and also the data is rarely accessible. Now, Jtag method. The Jtag is a non-invasive method from the physical acquisitions that could extract the data from the mobile devices, even when the data was difficult to access throughout the software avenues because the devices is damaged, locked, and encrypted. And the devices, however, must be least partitional. The partial functions and minor damages would be not been hindered. And this method, that this process involves the connecting with the test access port or taps on the devices and instructing the process of transferring the raw data stored in the connected memory chips. And this is a standard feature that could be across many of the mobile phones models and other provided with the mobile phone infrastructure. Low levels of the interfaces, the Jtag, and can in theory allow direct access to the mobile devices and memory without the jeopardizing it. Now, despite in the fact the labor of interest and the time of the modeling of the phones under the investigation must also be how to arrange a new resulting binary composed mode phone memory structure. Now, the Hex Dump, similar to the Jtag, the Hex Dump is also another method for the physical extraction of the raw data collection with the flash memory. Now, it is performed by the connecting the forensic workstations to the devices and then tunneling an unsigned code or the bootloader into the devices, and each of them will carry the instructions and the dump memory from the phones to the computer, resulting image with the fairly technical purposes in the primary format. It is also requires a person having the technical education to analyzing it. Now, furthermore, the examiner could comes into the possession of the abundant amount of data, and since the data can be recovered on the top, and the entire process is very much inexpensive in nature, and the second part is the invasive method. The typically it is a bit longer and the more complex method in the digital forensic field. Now, in the case where the devices is entirely non-functional due to the some severe damages, it is also very likely to only the retrieving of data from the devices might be manual removal and the image of the flash memory chips on the devices, even if the devices is item to the good conditions, and the circumstances may require the forensic expert to acquire the chips and content physically. Now, the second is a chip off part, the process that refers to obtaining the data and the straight from the mobile devices from the memory chip. Now, according to the preparations and partition to the pertaining to this level, the chip is detached from the devices, and the chip reading on the second phones is used to be extracted. The data stored in the devices under the investigation. It should be noted that this method is technically challenging because of the wide variety of the chips type, the chip type and existing in the mobile market, and also the chip off process is very much expensive. Training is required, and the examination should be the process of specific hardware to conduct the desoldering and heating the memory chip bits and bytes with the raw informations, and it is be retrieved from the memory and yet to be the paradise and the paradise and decoded and interpreted. Even the smallest mistake may lead to the damages to the memory chip, which is in the device's memory, which is in the memory chip, which is only the element of the memory where the mobile device it is not been broken. The whole process is consists of the 5 stages: the detect the memory chip, the topology of the devices, the physical extraction of the chip. For example, it is unbundling it. It is interfacing the it is interfacing with the unbundling and interface the chip using the reading and the programming the software. Reading and transferring of data from the chips to the PC, interpretation of the acquisition of data using the reverse engineering. Now, the last 2 phases coincide with those with the non-invasive method. However, the phase of the physical interactions and the extractions and interfacing the critical outcome with the invasive analysis. Now, the micro read. Now, this method refers to the manually taking all the round of view throughout the lenses of the electron microscope, analyzing the data seen on the microchip and memory chip, more specifically the physical gates on the chip. And it is a nutshell with the micro read in the methods of demanding the unlost level of expediting. It is a more costly and consuming. It is a more reserved and serious national security crisis. Now, tools uses in the digital forensic analysis, which is the important part in the forensic field. Now, what are the tools we are using in the forensic field? Now, forensic investigators are always challenging as well, may gather all the information they could from the evidences and the mitigation plan. Here are some of the computer forensic investigation tool you should know, and which is the most of them are free, whether it is an internal human resources cases and investigations into the unauthorized access to the server, or if to the want to learn to the new skill, and these suits and utilities all they help you to conduct the memory forensic analysis, hard drive forensic analysis, forensic imaging exploration, forensic imaging, mobile forensic. As such, all the providers the ability to bring back in depth the informations about what should be under the hood of the system. Now, the first tool is autopsy tool, which is the most important tool in the forensic part. The autopsy is a GUI-based open source digital forensic program to analyze the hard drives, smartphones efficiently. Autopsy is used for the thousands of users worldwide to investigate what is actually happening in the computer. Now, the second is an encrypted disk detector. Now, the encrypted disk detector can also be helpful to check the encrypted physical drive, supports the TrueCrypt, PGP, BitLocker, SafeBoot, and encrypted volumes. Third is the Wireshark. The Wireshark is a network capture analyzer tool which can use also happening in your network. Wireshark can be handy to investigate the network-related incident. Now, the fourth is the magnet RAM capture. You can also the magnet RAM capture to capture the physical memories of the computer and analyzes the artifacts in the memory. Fifth is a network miner. It is an interesting network forensic analyzer for the Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. Detect OS and host name sessions and open ports to the packet sniffing or the PCAP files, and network miner is provided the extractor artifacts between intrusive users and the interface. Now the Nmap is a network mapper. It is also one of the most important popular network security auditing tool. Nmap is supported to the most of the operating system, including the Windows, Linux, Solaris, Mac OS, HP, UX, and it is an open free source tool. Now the hashmy file, you can calculate the MD5 and the SH1A1 hashes. It also works on the almost all the latest Windows operating systems. The 11th is a crowd response, the response of the CrowdStrike. Windows applications is gather information for the incident response and security engagements. You can view the results in the XML context, the CVS and TSB and HTML. We can convert the CR convert. It is run on 32 and 64-bit on the Windows XP above. Now, the CrowdStrike is the most important tool for the investigation. The Tortilla is anonymous route to the TCP and IP and DNS traffic through the Tor. Shell shock scanner, scan your network through the OpenShock vulnerabilities. Heartbeat scanner, scan your network for the OpenSSL and heartbeat vulnerability. The ToolSlay is a tool. The ToolSlay is the most important tool for the investigation. The 10 useful tool for the investigation is a file signature verifier, the file identifier, hash and validate, binary inspector, encode the text, the data URI generator, and password generator. The 13 is a stealth kit. The stealth kit is a collections of the command line tool to investigate and analyzing the volume for the files and systems. You find the evidences. The canine is a computer-aided investigated environment. It is a Linux distro that can offer the complete forensic platform, which is a more than 80 tools for you to analyze, investigate, and create an actionable report. The volatility is a 15th tool. The alert is the memory forensic framework. It is an incident response to the malware analysis, which is the most with this tool. You can extract the information from the running processes, network sockets, network connections, DLLs, and registry hives. It is also has a support for the extracting the information from the Windows crash dump files and the hibernations files. Bulk Extractor is an important popular digital forensic tool. It scans the digital disks or the directory for the files to extract the information. Useful information. It is a process that ignores the file system structure, so it is faster than the available similar kinds of tools. It is basically used by the intelligence and law enforcement agencies in solving the cyber crimes. Now, the Oxygen forensic tool, it is the most investigating cases. It requires to gather the information for the mobile phones and to support your cases. The Oxygen forensic tool is a standard edition in the tool which can help and archive this. The Splico is an important open source network and forensic analyzing tool. That is a NFAT. It aims for the extraction of the application data from the internet traffic. Splico is an extract of email messages, POP, IMAP, SMTP traffic. But the features included the support for the multitude for the protocol HTTP, SIP, IMAP, TCP, and UDP. The TCP assembly and ability to output data to the MySQL and SQLite databases, and among the others. Now, 19 is a free hex editor Neo. The free hex editor Neo is basic. The hex editor it is designed to handle the very large files, while a lot of informations and additional features are found in the commercial versions. Now, the Hex Editor Neo, I find this tool useful for the loading the large file, example database file, forensic imaging, the performing the actions is a manual data copying, low file editing, the information gathering, and searching for the hidden data. Last but not the least, is an important tool in the digital forensics, the Ftk Imager. The Ftk Imager is a forensic toolkit developed by the Access Data. It is used to got the evidences. You can create and copies to the data for the making the changes and on original evidences. And this will always allow you to specific the criteria like the file size, pixel size, data type to reduce the informations and amount of the irrelevant data. Now, what are the features available in Ftk Imagers? And it is provide the wizard-driven approaches to detect the cybercrime. These programs often better visualizations of the data using a chart. It recovered the password more than the 100 applications. It is the advanced and automated data analysis facilities. Ftk Imager help you to manage the reusable profiles for different investigation requirements. This supports in pre and post processing refinement. Now, how the data is stored in a computer. Now, using the computer, laptops, and tablet mobile phone concern the storing and retrieving and transforming the information to the evident way. The data is represented on the modern storage and media during the binary numeral system. Though and all the data is stored on the storage media, whether the disk drive, disk drive, and HDD, solid state drive, external hard drive, USB flash drive, SD cards, etc., and can be converted into the strings of bits, otherwise using known as the binary digits. And this binary digit can have the 1 to 0, or the strings may be photos, documents, audio, and video. And a bit is an important common unit of the storage and equals to the 8 bits. Now, all data in the computer is stored as a number, and for example, letters become the number. The complete work. For the example, Satish is about the 1 to 50 pages on the print and the print and content. The print and the contains the 40 millions of bits, and one of the 1 byte is a whole letter. The totaling of the 5 megabytes, that is the 5 MB photographs, are converted into a set of numbers which indicate the location, color, brightness, and each pixel. Whereas the conversions were using the 10 digits of the 0 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9. The binary numbers are the 2 digits represented. All the possible values, the conventions number the 0 to 8 translate into the binary number. The 0, 1, 10, 11, 100, 101, 110, 111,000 with the binary numbers can be also be stored in the series with the items has been either be true with the false. Acha. Now, binary data is physical. It's primarily the stored hard disk drive and HDD. The device is made for the spinning of disks with the magnetic coatings. The head can be both be read and write information for the magnetic patterns. And in addition to the hard disk drive, floppy disks, and tapes is also the data magnetically. Now, in newer laptops as well as the mobile phones, tablet, USB flash drives, SD cards, and the solid state drives and storages with the storage media, the binary numbers are instead of the stored, and the CDs of the electrical charges and NAND flash drive, because all the data is made up of the strings of the binary number. Just with the one or the number places can be causes the file to become the corrupt. Now, what is data recovery? Now, it is a very important question in digital forensic field. Now, what is the data recovery? The data recovery is a process of restoring the data which has been lost and accidentally been deleted, corrupted, or made been inaccessible. Now, in enterprise IT, the data recovery typically refers to the restorations and data to the desktop and laptop or servers or the external storage system from the backup. Now, cause of data loss. Now, data and the most of the data losses is caused by the human error rather with the malicious attack. Now, in fact, the human error encountered with the almost the two-thirds of the incident. The most common type of breach occurred when the someone sent the data into the wrong person. And now other common causes the data loss includes the power outage, tags, and the natural disaster equipped with the failures and malfunctions, accidental deletion of data, unintentional formattings and hard drive, the damages with the drive read and write, and the software crashes, logical errors, firmware corruptions, continued use of the computer after sign of the failures, physical damage to the hard drive, laptop theft, splitting of the coffee or the water on the computer. Now, how the data recovery works? Now, the data recovery is a process varying on the depending upon the circumstances and the data loss. The data recovery software used to create the backup and backup the target medias. For example, the many of the desktops and laptop backup software platforms using the uses to the restore on the file using themselves, while the restoration of corrupted database from a tape and the backup is more than complicated process to require the IT intervention. The data recovery services is also be used for the retrieving of files and not been backup or accidentally deleted from the computer file system, but also the still remain on the hard disks. In the fact, when the data recovery is possibly because of the files and the information from the files with the are stored in the different places. For example, the Windows operating system is such as the file allocations and able to track with the files with the hard drives where they can store, and the allocations tables like the books tables of the contents, while the actual files on the hard drive like the pages on the book. Now, when the data is to be recovered, it is usually only the file allocation tables that do not work properly. Now, for the actual files recovered must be single and target housed with the flawless condition. It is a file still exists and it should not be damaged or encrypted. It can be recovered if the files is damaged, missed, or the encrypted. The other way of recovering it, if the file is physically damaged, it can still be reconstructed. Many applications as a Microsoft Office put uniform headers and the beginning of the files to designate in the belonging to the application. Sometimes utilities can be used to reconstruct the data headers manually, so at least some of the files can be recovered. The most data recovering process combine technologies, so organizations aren't solely the recovering data by tape, the recovering of the core application data from the tape sometimes needed the actions and access the data immediately after the disaster, and there can be risks involved with the transporting tapes. Now, in addition, not all the production data on the remote location can be needed to resume the operation. Therefore, it is wise to identify that can be left behind the what data must be recovered. Now we'll move on to hashing. Now, what is hashing? The hashing means using some of the functions and algorithm to the map object data or some representing the integer value. So this is also called the hash code, or simply the hashes that can be used in the way to the narrow down your searches while looking into the item in the map. Now, generally, these hash codes are used to generate the index which has been a value is stored. Now, how the hashing works? Now, in the tables, you store the data and from the keys and the value pairs. The keys which is used to identify the data, it is given to the input of the hashing function. The hashing code, which is the integer, it is a map with the fixed size we have. In the hashing tablets has been three functions, that is the insert, get and deleted part. Now, what does the hash functions mean? The hash functions has take a group of characters that is a key, and the map is to the value of certain length. It is the hash value of the hashes. The hash value is representative to the original strings of the character. It is normally smaller than the original. The hashing is done indexing the locating items in the databases because it is easier to find a shorter hashes value than the longer strings. Now, hashing is also being caused in the encryptions, and this term is also known as the hashing algorithms and the message of the digest function. And a very important topic in the digital forensic in the chain of custody. It is a very important part, and this is most of the preliminary part in the forensic field. The chain of custody refers to the logical sequences and that records the sequences of the custody, control, transfer, analyzing, and deposition of the physical electronic evidences in the legal cases. Now, such step in the chain is essential for the broken. The evidences may be re-rendered and inadmissible to the court. Thus, we can say that the preserving the chain of custody is about the following the correct and the consistent procedure, and the hence ensuring the quality of the evidences. Now, what is the chain of custody entitled in the digital cyber forensic? Now, the chain of custody is a digital cyber forensic, is also known as a paper trail of the forensic link or the chronological documentation of the environment. The chain of custody indicate the collection, sequence of control, transfer, and analysis. It also documentation detail of the each person who handled the evidences, data, and time it is collected and transferred. The purpose of the evidences, it demonstrates the trust and the courts to the client that the evidences has not been tampered. Now, digital evidences is acquired from the myriad of the devices. This is the vast number of IoT devices and audio evidences, the video recordings, images, and other stored data on the hard drive, flash drives, and other physical media. And the importance of maintaining the chain of custody. 10 minutes. Importance of maintaining the chain of custody. The importance of it is to preserve the integrity of the evidences, to preserve the evidences from the contamination, is alter the state of evidence in case of obtain the metadata for the piece of evidences which is unable to extract the meaningful information from the metadata, which is the metadata and evidences to the property. The importance to the court, if the not preserve and evidence is submitted to the court, might be challenging and rule which is inadmissible in nature. Now, this is a process where the chain of custody is done, the data collection, examinations, and analysis, and the reporting part. Now, in this way, the digital forensic the topics ends. There is a if you want to get the if you want to get the info answer from where you can get the job in the government field. Now you can do the digital forensic courses, that is a CHFI, which is EC Council recommended, which is AC Council recommend. So you can log into, you can move to CHFI course. You can do the CHFI course, and after the CHFI course, you have to submit your course detail and the certificate to the different type of CFSLs and FSLs, that is the forensic science laboratories, and the state basis or the central government basis. After that, if there is recruitment possibilities, then they take the interview of yours, and after that you can do the job in the digital forensic field. Now, today's one question, which you can get the you have a goodies for these questions, which is the you can give me the chat answer box. The question is how we can retrieve data from the digital forensic field in the digital forensic field. And the second question is what is a sniffing tool, and what are the important tools in the digital forensic field. Now, if anyone knows this answer, you can comment me on the comment box, and if there is a free surprises for you people, you can gain that free accesses and free modules from there. Thank you for today's sessions. Thank you from this side, Piyush. I will leave. Yeah, Patrick. And this is the end session.
Thank you, Piyush, for your time. We are really happy with your session. We hope our viewers have liked it and cut and okay. Thank you.